Jiro here for Umbra Games with the review of Starlink Battle for Atlas, available October 16th, 2018 for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Switch, and played on Switch for this review. While the majority of Toys to Life games have faded, LEGO Dimensions cancelled, Disney Infinity cancelled, and Skylanders not having a very recent entry and no news on the horizon, it was a bit of a shock to see a new franchise rise up. Ubisoft had yet to enter this arena, and they do so with this spaceship building, open world, planet and space exploration shooter where you can purchase physical ships, pilots, and weapons, attach them to a controller mount, and see them appear on your screen. And whichever pilot you choose to control is part of a crew on an exploration journey to the Atlas system in a massive interstellar ship called the Equinox. It's here that the group's leader is seeking information on an alien life form's origins, and shortly upon arrival they meet a mechanical army known as Legion. Planets act as their own icon-filled maps in that Ubisoft kind of way, denoting quest content and collectibles that can be discovered by flying around the planet or helping to build and upgrade observatories. Main quest objectives are often yellow icons, and when you're tracking them, you can look at your star map, both planet-focused and zoomed out on the star system, to figure out where you need to go. Main quests generally involve destroying specific targets or reaching an outpost to talk to an NPC. The majority of time spent on a planet's surface, you're likely to spend in the ship's tank-type mode, but flight can be enabled at any time. Your ship can boost, dodge, and defend based on its energy, the taller bar on the left, and you can have two weapons equipped at any given time. To destroy things, you move your reticle over an enemy target and fire either or both weapons that will have different fire rates and effects, and you can see their current ammo level on either side of the reticle. Ammo is unlimited. Now, one place Ubisoft did the Toys to Life a little bit uniquely, and I'm actually pretty curious to see the overall sales results because of it, is that once your ships and parts have been linked to the game, you can play without the attachment for a period of time before it requires you to link them again. So instead of popping guns off the model, you can pause and switch your loadouts from the in-game menu. This is extended even further by allowing you to purchase the game digitally, and it includes all ships and pilots and weapons for the normal AAA price of just $60. You can also buy a physical edition of the game and purchase the items separately digitally, instead of keeping the physical toys for a lower price per unit. With physical ships currently priced at $25, pilots at $8, and weapon 2-packs for $10, if you're just not wanting the toys on your shelf for the display, you can save a lot of money with a digital copy. Now, as most of my viewers know, I generally prefer PlayStation 4 this generation, but I was torn between PS4 and Switch this time because the Switch version comes with additional Star Fox content, including the R-Wing toy and the starter pack. Early previews and reviews I was reading had people saying the game felt empty, playing it without the Star Fox content on PS4 or Xbox One. Now, after finishing the game, I can sort of understand that viewpoint. I mean, it's not just a skin you're wearing. The whole Star Fox crew is here in cutscenes and interacting with the Starlink crew in conversations. They have their own quest chain as well, but feeling empty without them? I'm not quite sure. But I do have yet to play it on anything other than Switch. So that physical R-Wing came with a flamethrower, shorter range weapon, and an ice-based lock-on missile launcher. I used these two weapons for pretty much the duration of the entire game, until I hit planets where most enemies were either fire or ice-based, and my weapons were resisted. So then I would switch to the Shredder, non-elemental machine gun that came digitally only with this edition. I also got one of their ship digitally as well, which I think is the one included in the PS4 and Xbox One starter packs. You can set up to 3 loadouts from the menu, including the pilot, ship, and weapons, that can be easily switched between on the options menu. Now, the advantage to having more ships linked to your game is that if you should die, you can continue at the spot with another ship, otherwise it's a loading screen back to the last outpost you visited. Restarting from the outpost charges you a decent amount of Electrum, the game's currency, whereas repairing a single ship that was destroyed on your next visit to an outpost seemed a little less expensive. Ships, weapons, and pilots level up through use, ships increasing their base stats, weapons increasing their proficiencies, and pilots gaining points to put into various nodes, increasing the power of their unique pilot skill. With Fox McCloud, it was upping the power of and frequency of calling in Peppy, Falco, or Slippy for a support assault. In addition, you can also collect and equip enhancements called mods that belong in a handful of categories for ships and weapons that will increase damage, boost defense, or elemental resistance, and other various things. You can eventually gain the ability to combine 3 of any type of mod and use resources to boost it up a rarity, increasing its potency. I mentioned outposts. You can find 4 types of these spread around the planets in the Atlas system, and the observatory I mentioned increases radar views and reveals icons. The refineries provide the Equinox with timely deliveries of Electrum, workshops will deliver mods regularly, and armories will defend the planet from Legion invasions while you're not around. Most of these outposts start off with a white icon that you can approach and do a short quest to earn their trust, turning their icon orange. Once that's complete, you can do more quests for experience in Electrum, bringing them various items from the environment to upgrade their level, or pay them Electrum and Nova cores to do the same. I think they only recorded like 10 lines of dialogue for every outpost in the game and 3 different voices, so expect to hear a lot of repetition out there when dealing with these. The side quests for assisting observatories are generally destroying some outlaws, freeing a local city of its handful of invaders, retrieving an item from somewhere across the planet, or hacking an object. Basically sitting within a specific radius, fighting waves of enemies until the timer fills up. To get some of the planet's collectibles, sometimes you have to pluck them out of the environment by locking onto them and then matching some arrows to a green section that appears to pull them out. Some items you find will go into your inventory, but others must be carried at the front of the ship, blocking you from doing other plucking until that item is dropped off at a station. These are usually worth a little more electrum and experience to the outpost. There were only a handful of Legion troops you're going to encounter planetside, from the quick little imps that jump on your ship that you can shake off, to the Cyclops and 3 elemental flavors, to the Giants and those same 3 elemental flavors. One of the mid-game goals is to rid the planets of Legion extractors. These are giant machines set up to harvest electrum. There are 3 to 4 different mechanics you'll face as you take down dozens of these, including defeating its troops to lower the shield on the central control unit, or destroying nodes to lower the shield on the central control unit. While these things are active, they contribute to the level of the final planet-side Legion enemy type, the Prime. Primes have 1 or 2 mechanics up their sleeve as well, both which result in you doing damage when their faceplate is lowered. You'll occasionally find outlaws terrorizing the outpost or civilians that show up with purple health bars, but as I recall, I think there was only 1 type of ship you actually encounter. So let's talk about the space travel. Now you can leave and visit planets nearly seamlessly by just aiming your ship up with the flight engines on. Once you leave the atmosphere, you can see the nearby planets in the system, as well as some asteroids in the area. There are tons of space debris, wrecked ships, and outlaw bases you can discover while flying in the black that can provide electrum and mods. To move more quickly, you can engage your hyperspace engines, and you're often confronted with outlaw hyperspace traps while flying like this. You have to move your ship into the holes of the traps, or you'll be ripped out of warp and have to destroy some advancing outlaws. Sometimes you can use the fast travel between planets, but the aiming to get it to understand you wanted to do it seemed a bit wonky at times. I think maybe you had to have visited the planet first as well, turning the text green from white? Honestly not sure. Sometimes it seemed to only do it when I was leaving one planet directly in its atmosphere to travel to another, not mid-flight. You'll also encounter Legion dreadnoughts in the mid-game content I was talking about, and these gain level by how many primes are around on the nearby planets. So you can see extractors power primes, primes power dreadnoughts. Primes will continually drop extractors, and dreadnoughts will spawn primes once an hour or so. When you battle dreadnoughts, they actually have a phase where you go inside them that really reminds me of early Star Fox gameplay. Now, when you kill an extractor on the planet, you can pluck the core and turn them into the observatory for Nova cores. While these extractor cores go into the inventory, prime cores you pluck are the kind that stick on the front of your ship and have to be delivered immediately, but they also instantly level an outpost from its lowest level to its highest, and grant you 5 Nova. Nova is used as a second form of currency to buy Equinox upgrades, upgrade outposts as I mentioned, and also use the mod merging thing I was talking about. Equinox upgrades do things like boost your inventory space for stuff you pick up on planets, and increase some of the mod capacity of your ships, and boost damage done to various Legion types. The planets you can visit in Starlink are pretty diverse in terrain. Many have a variation in temperature, and if you get too cold, your ship will freeze up the controls, or too hot and you'll start to take damage. There are biological collectibles and animals to be scanned in each world that look a little bit different, but, all used in the same way. Just gonna be bluntly honest here, despite the ire of the fanboys, the main reason I wanted this on PS4 over Switch was, the Switch kind of has a lower graphical capability. There's a lot of texture popping and reduced resolution versus the versions on the other consoles. And I only know this from watching side-by-side comparisons, and it doesn't seem to affect gameplay at all. And hey, I'm not a hater or anti any console. I'm in this for the games, just doing my honest job here with the friendly public service announcement. Now, the plot of Starlink is a little troped, with the Legion immediately springing to mind the Mass Effect trilogy plot and Mass Effect Andromeda that pretty much shared the same plot as the trilogy, with the robotic army and the Prime being unleashed upon a galaxy to take it over. The character banter in Starlink is pretty amusing at times, and there's actually a little depth to the crew's struggles throughout the game's events. So what is it you miss out on by not having all of the things? Well, there are locations on each planet called Warden Towers that have a puzzle you have to solve using elemental guns to manipulate locks. If you don't have one of the elements, you can't solve the puzzle. These Warden Towers give mods and electrum as rewards for solving them. They can be used to fast travel around the planet from tower to tower. And finally, there's tiers of Equinox upgrades that can be unlocked with the accumulation of solved towers, so you'll be missing out on some of those. Secondly, when confronting some of the elemental versions of enemies, if you don't have a fire weapon, for example, you won't be as effective against ice enemies. For me, the Crusher-type enemies required a stasis elemental gun, which I didn't have. There are also some chests coated in crystallized nova of a specific element too, a lot of times found in Space Rebel, that you won't be able to open if you don't have the opposite element. So basically it's kind of just stopping you from getting 100% completion, and really that's about it. Even not having stasis guns with my leveled up other ones, I didn't really have any trouble destroying anything, and the fast travel towers weren't usually close to where I needed to go anyway. I'm going to provide a little opinionated discussion here and say that the Toys of Life model actually kind of did a bit of a disservice here. If instead of buying all the content to play the game with, you unlocked various weapons that allowed you to access new areas in the Metroidvania style, or you rescued your fellow pilots enabling them for use, or were able to build the other ships or find them through some quests, I think they really could have generated a bit more interesting content here. Instead, by buying the $75 starter pack, I pretty much used the same 2 weapons for almost the entire game, making combat that much more repetitive in nature. Again, just my opinion. So overall, Starlink Battle for Atlas has a decent amount of content that gets a bit repetitive in execution rather quickly, some neat ship designs that you can even hold in the palm of your hand, fun crew characters, but pretty limited enemy types and NPC conversations, some useful RPG leveling mechanics, diverse planets, initially fun but repetitive combat, a decent story, some unexpected unfoldingly delivered game mechanics delivered throughout the campaign, and some good Switch exclusive content. This game's a little difficult to throw into any one specific genre with its open world, vehicle combat, space combat, RPG mechanics, and Toys to Life features, especially because you don't even need Toys to Life to play. At its core though, it's a mission-chasing open world game where we can stick ships and weapons in that weapons and abilities category, and using that scale, Starlink Battle for Atlas hits a 65 on my true 0 to 100 scale, where 50 is an average game. This is Jiro from Umbra Games. Thanks for watching.